I am Susan Pat with Cake Art located in downtown Salisbury, and today I'm going to make for you a chocolate berry trifle. And the first thing that we're going to do is try to prepare all of our ingredients to make sure that we have everything so that we can just put the trifle together very quickly and easily. The first thing we're going to start with is we have heavy whipping cream right here. We're going to pour it into this mixing bowl, and I'm sure everybody's mixed up whipped cream before. It's much better than the Cool Whip, in my opinion. We're going to just lower the mixing bowl with the whisk, and you should also, what's already in here, have about a 1/4 cup of sugar to about 3 cups of heavy cream. And then we will turn it on. Turn it on high. Okay, we have the cream is whipped. And if you can see, we have it in stiff peaks. So it's nice and fluffy. You don't want it to look curdled. If you over whip it, it gets curdled and will actually turn to butter, which we don't want it to happen. Okay, so the whipped cream I wanted to get done first, so we had that ready to go. I've already prepared chocolate cake. Now you can use your favorite chocolate cake recipe. Then we're going to cut it into cubes and put it into the bowl. You can use leftover cake. If you made a cake for family and you had an extra layer, this is a great use for any extra cake you have. We also have some pastry cream right here, which I've already previously made, cooled, and then whipped up again. It's made with eggs, milk. If you want a quick process, you can use instant pudding or cooked pudding if you like. So that's the third component. We also have fresh berries, which we're going to be slicing those up, and I'm going to be layering those in the cake. And then I have also a raspberry puree. You can use a raspberry preserves if you'd rather. This is something that I make up a filling with sugar and raspberry puree. It's yummalicious. And our other component that we have is our Grand Marnier simple syrup. And this is where I took a cup of simple syrup to a 1/4 cup of Grand Marnier, and that's mixed together. So the first thing, now that we have all our components started, is we're going to slice up our cake into just small cubes. Even if you have some day-old cake that you want to use this for, it'll work great because you're going to soak it with some of the Grand Marnier syrup. You're also layering it with lots of whipped cream and pudding, so it's going to be moistened by all those things. Okay, so we have some cake all cut up here. The next thing we're going to do is start making our trifle. I have a special trifle bowl. If you don't have a trifle bowl, you can do anything. You use any kind of bowl that you want. The nice thing about the trifle bowl is all the layers will show through here as you layer each ingredient on top of one another, and it will look really pretty, which is great for any spring event that you're doing. So basically, you want to try to get yourself into a bit of a system of how you want to put things together. Now we start with the cake first on the bottom, and you're going to spread a layer of the cake pieces evenly on the bottom of the trifle bowl. Then we have our delicious Grand Marnier syrup, and you want to soak that into the cake pieces. It's going to give it a nice little orangey flavor. If you've had Grand Marnier, it has that nice orange liqueur flavor, which is delicious. Then on top of the cake, I go ahead and I do my raspberry, which I've just put into a pastry bag because it's a lot easier for me to handle. Cut off the tip. If you don't have a pastry bag, honestly, you can take the raspberry preserves that you get at the store, put them into the microwave, or put them in a pan with a little water to thin it down, and then you can just spread a little over. Now you don't need a whole lot of this because it is fairly concentrated. The next thing that I do is I put in the pudding. And this will go into all the little crevices of the cake. It'll get spread around and will be very yummy. So you just want to spread that around. Trifle can be made in so many different flavor combinations. And as you can see, you don't need a whole lot of talent to be able to do this. Anyone can layer pudding and cake and fruit. And if you get really creative, there's all kinds of amazing flavor combinations you can put together. Like I'm doing raspberry and strawberry. But if you do a traditional English trifle, we use all kinds of other fruits. Any kind of fruits you want, in addition to sherry, is what the cake gets soaked in. I like to have a good amount of fruit in mine, so I'm going to make sure that I get strawberries in every single bite. Just saying. That's how I like it, so that's how I'm going to make it. At this point, you kind of press it down a little bit. And then we get to top it with our nice, yummy, fresh whipped cream. Put some in here like that. And again, spread it to the edge. And then after we get this done, that means we've got our first layer done. So we're going to repeat this till all of our ingredients are used up, which should be right around to the top of the bowl. Then we're going to go back to our chocolate cake. For chocolate lovers, if you want to do chocolate cake, you can do chocolate ganache in here in addition to with raspberries. I mean, you can just get creative. Use what you have in your house and say, hey, I have cherries today. Why don't I do a chocolate cherry trifle? And in summer, with spring coming, all the fresh produce we have coming in, try to use local as much as possible. So we're going to get a good douse of Grand Marnier syrup because that really gives it that kick and that extra flavor. So we're going to do it again with the raspberry. Go on top. I'm going to do a little around the edge of the bowl so that it can be seen through. So you can see the layers coming up there. Then we're back to our pastry cream, which we will spread around. Cross over myself here a little bit. Doesn't have to be fancy on the inside. You just want it to look nice on the outside. Then we're back to some fresh berries, which I've already sliced these up. You can chop them however you like. I like the slices, but if you have kids that want to help you chop them up, help you slice some strawberries, they don't have to be perfectly sliced, all the same exact size. So it's like we're building a dessert. And everybody's always so impressed. It's so simple, but when you have guests over, they're always like, ooh, wow, look at that. The hardest part is just preparing all your components, you know, baking your cake ahead, making sure you have your cream whipped and your pastry cream made. And in the summertime, I make this all different ways with all the different local fruits. If we go blueberry picking, I'll do it with the fresh blueberries. If we go for strawberries, I do it with strawberries. So be creative, have fun. And use your favorite liqueur. You can use amaretto, Grand Marnier. I mean, really, anything goes. We're going to put more cake on top now. And this will probably be our last layer. So I'm going to try to use up most of the cake. As you can see, I'm not measuring anything. So you shouldn't have to. You should just make it a layer, cover it. So for people that don't even like to bake or say they can't, this is something easy. And all your guests will be like, wow, you made that? Like, yep. All right, back with the Grand Marnier syrup again. We don't want to be stingy. Just because it's so delicious. Chocolate and Grand Marnier, come on now. It's delicious. All right, now we should put on the raspberry. Don't forget this step. Let's do the raspberry in here. And then the pastry cream. I'll try to get it here so everybody can see it. And as we get to the top, you can see we're almost everything is used up just as we planned. Love it when a plan comes together. And some more fresh berries. And it looks like I need to slice just a few more because I don't want to skimp on that top layer, since I told you how much I like to have enough berries in every layer. So we'll put a few more. See how easy that is? Spread those out. Then what we do is we top it off with the whipped cream, and then we'll just garnish it off with some nice fresh strawberries. And even this, you can get fancy if you want. You want to get a pastry bag out and pipe some, borders around it. You can do that. If you want to just keep it simple, like we're doing today, you're just going to spread it to the edge of the bowl. Try not to splatter all over yourself in the process. And then we are going to, the spatula again, get a little bit smoother. This is the part you can have fun with. You can do whatever you want with your strawberries. I'm going to just fan a couple strawberries to the top, which you just slice down to the stem, but not all the way down. Then you fan your strawberry down like that. Put that right on top. If you want to use chocolate curls or chocolate drizzle, you could do that too. And then the last thing we do is we take this and we put it on our little stand. And voila, there we have chocolate berry trifle. Fun for all your guests. Again, I am Susan Pat with Cake Art in downtown Salisbury. Thank you for joining us on Now Being Served. Please visit us at nowbeingserved.com. Thank you. So one thing I did want to share with you is how we make the pastry cream. Our pastry cream that we made in this is a homemade pastry cream, but you can also use from a pudding mix if you'd rather and you have time constraints. Our pastry cream is a staple for any pastry chef, and it is made ahead of time. It just requires some previous preparation and cooling time. It's basically a egg yolk, sugar, and cornstarch mixture that we whisk together in a bowl, and then we take our milk and vanilla bean and we bring that to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we temper the sugar egg yolk mixture with a little bit of the milk, and then we pour the rest of it into it and we return it to the stove. The next step is very important. Cooking it on the stove, it tends to burn very quickly and easily at the bottom, so you want to make sure that you have a medium heat. And you stir with a whisk and you have one of those heat-proof spatulas. So you're going to stand there and whisk the whole time until it comes back to a boil. Once it comes back to a boil, you want to let it cook for 1 to 2 more minutes to cook all the starchiness out of the pastry cream. At that point, you will turn it out into another pan or a shallow baking dish, cover it with plastic wrap, and put it in the refrigerator. At this point, it needs to cool for probably an hour. At that point, you'll take it out, put it into your mixer with your whip, and you will whip it up until it's that nice fluffy consistency that you saw when we put together the trifle. The vanilla bean, if you don't have vanilla bean, you can also use vanilla extract, and there's even vanilla bean paste out there that's available. You're just going to put a little bit into the milk when you're bringing it to a boil. Pastry cream is delicious. It's what fills up cream puffs and eclairs, and it goes in Napoleons, it's what's in your banana cream pie and your coconut cream pie. So it is a staple to so many pastry items. One of the other things that we used in here was the raspberry. A lot of times I've mentioned you can buy the raspberry preserves. Thin it down with a little bit of water, put it on the stove, cook it, and then you'll drizzle it over the cake instead of what I did. But what I did is I buy a puree, and you can buy frozen raspberries and puree them in your mixer, or your food processor, I should say. Then you're going to put them into a saucepan. So it would be the frozen raspberry puree, which would be thawed out by then. Sugar, again, we'll use cornstarch, and a little bit of water. And you can go to the website and get the exact proportions. Then you will cook it on the stove till it comes to a boil and thickens. Again, you're working with fruit and sugar. It will burn easily on the bottom, so you want to make sure that you're using a medium heat, not cooking it. Don't get impatient and turn it on high. And then all of a sudden you have burnt raspberry filling, which is not a good idea. At that point, you also will need to let it cool. And again, you just can whisk it with your hand. You don't necessarily have to put it back in the mixer to get some air into it, but you're going to just take a whisk it up till it's like this consistency that you saw. Then you can put it in the pastry bag and then proceed to use it as we instructed for the trifle. So I hope that's helpful and that you enjoy your baking.